And we are back on Sleep Reimagined with Nyree Penn. Nyree, how are you?
I am wonderful. Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. Well rested. That's my question for you?
Absolutely, first and foremost.
Yeah. Uh, this is the core part of our show, right? So let's talk today's episode. Today we are going to talk about the mental health connection with, especially with sleep's role in anxiety and depression. So let's just dive in. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Nari, what was the moment in your career when you realized just how deeply sleep and mental health are actually connected?
Man, I think what surprised me the most was that I kind of, because I come from such a strong clinical background, I just kind of expected people to be like, hey, this is the problem. I can't sleep. This is what's wrong with me. Fix me. Right. And that was my plan. When I started, I was like, okay, I fix you. No problem. You got REM sleep disorders. Come on in. However, as we started doing more and more and more, um, and I understood like all these different, like I can actually see it visually on the EEG monitor. I can see PTSD, anxiety, depression, and how it affects the neurological aspects of your brain, essentially. So that's when it's like, oh my God, this has a way bigger implication of, oh, I can't sleep through the night or I'm tired. There's actually physical changes that occur when people don't get sleep and specifically REM sleep. And I would see this a lot in my VA patients. They're exposed to so much. Like they always come to the top three: insomnia, chronic sleep deprivation, maybe some REM sleep disorders. And it was just the same over and over and over. And what is going on? And so, but it makes sense, right? The PTSD related hyperarousal situations that they may be in, the international appointments, the chronic time changes, just transitioning back to civilization or civilian life. And then just transitioning for reservists back into the military. Like there's just so many extreme ups and downs in that particular group that really opened my eyes to be like, wow, this is a really way more significant issue than just, oh, I can't sleep. So yeah, definitely in that population group.
And this was like when you first had your first VA patient that kind of confirmed it for you, or it
Yeah,
was like,
I try to really support the military. My dad was in the military, my son was in the military. And so I'm really like close to helping that group because I can see, the effects of lack of sleep with them, and it's just one, because if one tells another, they're going to tell another, so gratefully so, so I was super excited, but they all were experiencing like these same type of sleep, footprints that I was saying. And it was, and the same kind of, subjective history, so it's just amazing to physically be able to see that.
yeah. And how about you? On a personal level, have you personally felt the effects of sleep deprivation on your own mood, stress level? How what's your experience with that?
I laugh because I originally had started this business not really fully understanding the implications of lack of sleep because I didn't have a problem sleeping, and as I met more people and the desperation in their voice, I understood it from a clinical perspective. But when I opened this business and I started, all the things that come with it, and it's just this journey of having to do so much and, just being an entrepreneur and being a business person and still being an employee and, managing a household and just the addition of starting a business. Where else am I supposed to find time? My sleep, you know? Oh, I can 8 hours. I can do 6 hours. As long as I get 4 hours, I'm good. But next thing I know, 4 hours turned into once, twice, a week, a month. And then the physical, signs started. I was like, if I don't sleep, done. I cannot function if I do not sleep. And I need to understand that about myself. So that's what really, and maybe that's what I needed to really now clinically understand it. I physically, emotionally, mentally, and psychologically understand what it means not to be able to sleep and specifically rest.
I guess that's why sleep is so important, right?
Mhm.
Like if you don't get enough, you are just going to be a different human
It
being.
it affects every aspect of your life, your wife's life, your kids' lives, your coworker's life, everything.
Which is why it gets really, obviously we are seeing more and more focus on sleep.
Oh,
There's a whole bunch of like even physicians just focusing on sleep now. There's so
yes.
much many sleep clinics now, and
Yeah.
there's all that focus coming, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's still, I feel like it still doesn't get the kind of attention that it should get.
It doesn't. And fortunately for Prosomnia sleep, we focus on REM sleep, and the understanding and the physiological and neurological implications of lack of sleep, specifically quality REM sleep and non-REM sleep. I don't want to negate the importance of non-REM sleep either. But we definitely focus on seeing the physical aspects and the changes that occur and dealing with the neurotransmitter aspect of balancing someone's rest.
Yeah. And let's talk about more on the aspect on the brain. So let's start with what's happening in the brain when we don't get enough sleep. What really is happening? Anything about that?
Um, Man, that's that. I think that might be a podcast in itself, but it's not the brain. And again, I say this from the standpoint of a neurological and the neurotransmitters that affect your brain. Specifically, when we do Prosomnia sleep sessions, we focus on relieving sleep pressure with the neurotransmitter adenosine. However, there's 6 other neurotransmitters that are involved in that show. So, to say it's just adenosine or just GABA or just acetylcholine or just serotonin, like they're all so intricately entwined. So when people come and say, I can't sleep or I can't rest, then we dig into the neurotransmitter aspect of it. So with mental health, it's usually the serotonins and the dopamine, right? However, those are very intricately involved with adenosine and GABA and acetylcholine. And so it's not like if my acetylcholine and my acetylcholine is high and my serotonin is low. Oh, that's why I can't sleep. No. Now we have to look at, what's going on with your dopamine in the prefrontal area, which we can see, right? What's going on in your hypothalamic region, which we can see. So that's why, it's not just, oh, you have low dopamine. And so that's why or you have high dopamine and that's why you're addictive and you have these addictive personalities or you're depressed. So let's put you on some serotonin inhibitors, to increase the serotonin for you and that'll help your mental health. They're just all so intricately involved. You can't just target one or the other. And I think that, we live in it and, naturally so it definitely helps, but there's no one to really follow up and say, hey, how does this affect your sleep? Like, okay, we balanced out your melatonin, your serotonin levels, but why can't I sleep anymore? So it's then why, right? And so in defense of the medical professionals, like we don't really have an answer, right? And that's what we definitely try to achieve at Prosomnia Sleep because somebody has to start. Like we have to start looking at it from the neurotransmitter. We are on dopamine serotonin overload and our addictive tendencies with the cell phones are only going to increase. Our addictive behaviors with the computers and moving and running and whatever it is. That's all dopamine, but there's such a thing as too much dopamine. And that's where we are. And that's where all these, as a society, we are in overload in general with all of this. It's just too much. And so what happens is our bodies compensate. They start down regulating. It's like, we can't keep on sending out all these signals. You gotta stop moving. You gotta stop with the traffic, stop with jobs, just stop and rest and breathe and sleep. Right? Okay. Forget our bodies. Our minds are not resting. It's like our phones are at arm's reach. That's our world. That's our life all over again in arm's reach. We are in dopamine overload. So the mental health problems are going to continue and they're going to get worse. We're on serotonin overload. Our food sources are getting worse. Food is medicine. And that's another thing we strongly believe in Prosomnia Sleep. Food is medicine. And that's how we treat our patients. We treat them with food. Food is medicine. We try to, balance out their neurotransmitter levels just so they can sleep. Sleep affects every aspect of your body and your mind. And that's what we focus on, including mental health.
So, I mean, you are obviously doing it, for all the sleep patients, but let's talk about just like there is a whole branch of physicians who are dealing with patients, right? Like there's a neurologist and they're taking care of the brain health, and then there is primary cares who just want to do general
Yeah.
wellness. But I never hear, I mean, they do ask in every visit,
Right.
like, are you getting good sleep and everything, right? But I never hear, or at least I don't know if it's happening. It's more of a question to you, like what you are seeing. Do you see more of the physicians, both sides, not just on the brain health side, but also on primary care side, more kind of like doing assessment of sleeps and then suggesting treatments even in that direction? Is it happening at all, or is it not happening? Where are we at this with this, right?
I can't speak as far as, what's really out there, what people are trying to get to do. Like I'm trying to get people REM sleep, so from that perspective, I'm sure my medical health professionals are trying within their capability, right? But they're running, let's not even talk about insurance. They're running a practice. And as much as they may want to, if sleep is not their specialty, it's not their specialty, right? I'm sure there's some that are willing to give medication, sleep aids, but this is all we do, sleep. We don't do sleep in babies. We don't do sleep in butts, feet, toes, stomach. We do sleep, period. Specifically sleeping of the mind, REM sleep. So that's when that's all we have to focus on. That's all we're going to focus on. We don't prescribe medication because to us, that inhibits a lot of REM sleep. So that's why we look to treat sleep in natural ways. I can't speak on what other practitioners are doing. I can speak on what I'm sure they're trying to do within their capability.
Okay. And
And honestly, I know you hear this a lot. A lot of medical professionals aren't trained in the area of sleep. There's pulmonologists and there's, mental health professionals and psychiatrists and sleep doctors from a respiratory perspective. But sleep from a neurological perspective, there's a few of us out there, but specifically REM sleep, I do believe is only just us, Prosomnia Sleep Wellness.
and two questions to that. So one is, of course, the insurance system of currently, does it really support, like all sleep related, treatments that you're seeing, especially in Prosomnia in your own clinic? Do you see that, are they, or at least there is an effort to cover all those through insurances, or it's still too early? It's most of it is out of pocket right now. And the second thing is collaborations from, let's say, mental health professionals with specialists like you on the sleep side. uh, is this even happening, or is it just about to start? Where are we with these two things? Can you talk about both of them?
Yeah, from an insurance standpoint, no, absolutely not. It's almost like sleep industry is a dying industry. Right now, the only way, I'm so sorry. Right now, usually the most ways and most sleep, industries and organizations, companies, the only way they can usually make money is with the sleep apnea devices, a product. Sleep as a service comes with the product. But just identifying the root cause of sleep, not the symptoms, not prescribing a prescription or recommending a particular hormone. It's the root cause, which is REM sleep and therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapists, just look at the amount of them there. It is so hard for me to find it. Put this out there. In South Florida, it is so hard for me to find a cognitive behavioral therapist for insomnia. They usually take on other specialties, but it's just one of those industries I feel that we are going to have to revolutionize. And that's what we're ready to do. And that's what we're about to do. Because sleep is only looked at from the perspective of obstructive sleep apnea as a product because that's a billable service. And maybe an overnight sleep test. And then what? A machine. So you see what I'm saying? So a lot of few symptoms, and few symptom related solutions, but nothing gets to the root cause like Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness does. And again, this is all we do. We're not opposed to sleep apnea devices and sleep apnea machines, but not as the only source to treat people. And now again, we're treating symptoms. Why aren't you sleeping? Why? Because you're on dopamine overload, or because you have addictive personalities, or because you're a gambler, or like, because you lost your husband, or because you're going through real life issues, or because you have children, right? How do you go to the doctor? I have kids. I can't sleep. Okay, here's a prescription for something. No, that's okay, but still, I got to do this for 18 years. Yeah, come on. No, so it's two parts. Yes, there's very few options available. A billable service for insurance companies in the sleep health and wellness industry. There is plenty of opportunities to have other billable services, including Prosomnia sleep therapy. And as far as what's your secondary question was like, what's available and what people can do in general, or like practitioners specifically, can do, and I don't know. I don't personally feel like it's an area that we're taught a lot about in medical school. So again, we're a unicorn over here, and rightfully so. I'm so grateful to say that I know we've helped a lot of patients, and I'm really excited to see, the future of where Prosomnia sleep health and anesthesia-induced REM sleep therapy can go.
And I don't know, I guess this is the clarification everyone wants to seek, and I get this question a lot too, like, can lack of sleep actually cause mental health disorders, like completely new one, or
100%.
does it just make the existing conditions worse, or both? Like, what's the
Absolutely
reality?
both. Absolutely both. And
Right.
like I was saying before, we can see it. I can see PTSD on our from a numerical standpoint. I can see trauma. I can see depression. I can see REM sleep disorders. I can see REM sleep deprivation, chronic insomnia. Like these are real mental health issues. And from a neurotransmitter perspective, serotonin and dopamine specifically when it comes to mental health. Those two things I know, and that's where a lot of the pharmaceutical industries target, but again, these two systems are so intricately related. I can't just treat the serotonin without treating the dopamine and the acetylcholine and, in the melatonin and the adenosine, and, they're all related because when we focus on releasing adenosine sleep pressure, it was like, oh, wait, now dopamine levels have increased. Now serotonin levels have increased. Now acetylcholine levels have decreased, right? And adrenaline levels have decreased. Now we got to look at all that as a whole. It's not like I can go, oh, let me just look at, dopamine. Let me just look at serotonin. No, you got to look at the whole thing. And so, of course, it affects mental health. And even if you didn't have a mental health problem before, like something as simple as taking well, I don't want to say specifically, but certain serotonin inhibitor drugs, right? If they inhibit your serotonin, then naturally, if you start experiencing depressive behaviors, okay, and then what? Of course, you go to your GI doctor, and you're like, oh, I think I'm not as nauseous and throwing up anymore, but now I'm super depressed. Okay, here's a prescription for fill in the blank. Instead of saying, hey, who stops and looks at your serotonin levels? And how do you test for that? Who? What? Right. Until you're dead, you really can't. I mean, and it's all subjective, but it doesn't matter. I don't care if I need this level of serotonin, you need this level. If you're happy up here and I'm happy here, then that's what it is. But who's looking at that? Right. So hopefully, again, for Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness, this is why we want to bring this to the world, bring this to the industry to let them know we are looking at that. We are looking at neurotransmitter levels, and we are looking at how food affects those, other secondary medications that some people wouldn't even think that, look, Benadryl. Of course, everybody takes Benadryl to go to sleep. People don't understand how it affects your serotonin and dopamine levels in your brain, right? So this is, again, another reason why we're not huge advocates of secondary medications. Food is medicine. And that's really all you need. Get granted, we use medication to put people into REM sleep temporarily. One and done, right? And now we'll look at the other issues, because now it's that, once things even out, the issue's still there. I think your question was actually, are there physical changes that occur? Absolutely. Because that's the whole purpose. That's neuroplasticity. That's how you learn. That's how you remember. That's how you grow. So you have to get your mind in the habit of stable neurotransmitter levels, serotonin, dopamine, the mental health ones, and all of them actually, because we want to stabilize your adenosine sleep pressure, right? And that's how the lifestyle changes and the food, the nutritional changes come about.
So, what's the role of REM sleep specifically in emotional processing and mental well-being?
So specifically, again, adenosine, serotonin, dopamine, they're all related. When you're not sleeping, okay, you have a buildup of adenosine sleep pressure. If you're not relieving, the only time your mind can relieve that full adenosine attack, is during REM sleep. The only time your mind can recharge, rejuvenate, rebalance, remember is during REM sleep. If you're not getting REM sleep, there's other benefits in non-REM sleep. I don't want to minimize the importance of that again. Serotonin is big in the non-REM sleep space. In REM sleep, dopamine is big. So if you're not releasing that adenosine sleep pressure, you're not releasing dopamine. And so when you get that, you feel good when you wake up, right? Everybody goes to sleep. Oh my God, how do you feel? Had a great night's sleep. And they say with this smile and their eyes are open and eyes are wide. You're so excited that you got REM sleep, right? You're motivated, you're happy, you do things because you got real REM sleep. Your dopamine levels have evened out. Your serotonin levels usually that's that groggy. If you don't get that non-REM sleep, your serotonin levels are low. That's that your mood, your emotions, your quality, your quantity of sleep, right? That's when everything balances out. But interesting enough, serotonin and dopamine are strongly related. So that means so are adenosine and dopamine. So it's not a one. I can't just fix the serotonin without fixing the dopamine. I can't just fix the dopamine without fixing the serotonin, right? They're all related, and that's what we all need to understand. You can't just be on an SSRI and think that, okay, my serotonin levels are balanced out. Now I should feel better. What you've done is you've built a tolerance. So you've got to get to the root problem, which we believe is balancing out the neurotransmitters.
Very interesting. So, at Prosomnia sleep therapies that you do, are you making sure like the full spectrum is covered, or is it like certain areas that you don't go into? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Unless you're dead, there's really no way to measure your serotonin levels. Granted, yes. We can measure, we can say if there's a qualitative change in your blood serum uric acid levels, and that's representative of serotonin levels. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Delete all of that. We can measure blood uric acid levels, which is a qualitative, just change in your adenosine levels. So we believe that when we do your REM sleep sessions, we'll measure your uric acid levels and then, which are pretty low. And then if we release that adenosine sleep pressure after your sleep pressure, we take another blood uric acid sample again, and it should be higher, and which they are. And just to explain, adenosine can't cross the blood-brain barrier. It will transform, break down, and ultimately show up as uric acid in the blood. And so that's why we can measure uric acid levels in the blood. It is like released in other areas like your cerebrospinal fluid and your urine, but definitely not doing that. So, and that's one measure. Dopamine, serotonin, those are others. Again, acetylcholine, adrenaline, all those other important neurotransmitters. It's really, really difficult to measure those. And they're very, very short acting. They'll change in 8 seconds. Adenosine is live or active in the blood for only 8 seconds. So, so it's just one of those things where it's like, we can show a qualitative change, but that's pretty, quantitative change, but that's pretty much it.
Got it.
It's subjective. Do you feel better or not?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where it should go, right? Like how are you feeling at the end?
Yeah. How are you feeling? And there's, and I want to minimize, there's all kinds of tests and scores and, ways to validate, if you have this and you feel like this, there's tons of them out there. Yes. Yes. But at the end of the day, it's how do you feel? That's what your doctor asks you. How do you feel? I don't know. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing anything anymore. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. And then it's just kind of this, trail of, um, but again, sleep affects every aspect of your body, REM sleep specifically. And if we're treating your REM sleep, just naturally, we should be treating all the other, treating or fairly balancing out those that are affected by sleep and REM sleep, non-REM and REM sleep.
So, I mean, you touched briefly here. What role do dopamine and serotonin play in mental health and sleep cycle together? How that works?
So, okay, well, let me back a little bit and kind of explain like what each one of them does. So each one of them shows up in different places in your body. So dopamine it shows up in your kidneys and a little bit in your brain. Okay, but it can't cross the blood-brain barrier. So it has to be made in your blood, broken down, transferred into L-DOPA in your brain. And that's what gives like your motivation. It's more of like the acting drug. It's like, I want to go out there. I want to work out, right? That's when your dopamine levels are high. But I shouldn't say high or low, just balanced, right? Because there are different levels for everybody. It's again, based on how you feel. I feel depressed. I feel low. I don't want to do anything. It's more of the acting one. Okay. And that one, that just lets you know you're not motivated. You don't want to do anything. But because it shares the same pathway of serotonin and adenosine, that's how it affects your sleep. Okay. And your mental health. So if you're not feeling well, you're sad, you're depressed, then we have to and then I can't sleep. Right. And so those are part of the questions. Everybody comes to me because they can't sleep. My next is why? Oh, I don't know. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I don't feel like doing anything. Okay. There you go. That's when we start taking a look at dopamine. And that's your let's go do stuff. That's your motivating thing. When it's too high, that's where the addictive personalities come from. And that's, people who are like, they're all about something. We all have an addiction of some sort, but you see this a lot with people who live these up and down stock traders, these up and down lives, right? Sports is definitely necessary in sports to an extent, but to an extent, again, if it's too high for too long, your body will downregulate. Some of the drugs target dopamine, cocaine, the illicit drugs, the ecstasies, all those target dopamine specifically. That's why when people are, they're up, they're awake, they're excited, they're ready to go, they're ready to do stuff. That's that drug. That's the dopamine drug. And it's fine, but there's only so much the mind can tolerate. Right. So it's like, okay, so that's fine. What it's going to do is going to start down regulating those receptors. So even if you have all this dopamine in your system, your body's not going to be able to use it like it's supposed to. And it's just a natural feedback system that happens because it's just too much on a regular basis. In addition to our addictive personalities with our cell phones, it's too much on a regular basis. So it's going to downregulate that dopamine. And so then it's like, I missed my phone. Oh my God, it's been 5 minutes. Where's my phone? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because the levels start decreasing. So you're going to need more and more and more. And that's why you build a tolerance. That's why you can be in a whole place with 100 people and be on your phone and you won't even notice. You are so laser focused. That dopamine is so high that and this is what causes you not to be able to sleep. And because they're all interrelated, right? Serotonin, same thing. Serotonin is more illicit. It's spread out all through your body. Pretty much I think it's the second most, highly populated neurotransmitter. But that's pretty prevalent all through your system, all through your mind. However, the issue with serotonin is that you do need it in other places. It's not just, your mind, but that is the one thing that is converted into melatonin. So our endogenous serotonin is converted into melatonin, and that's what keeps us asleep at night. And that's where, chronic insomnia, I can't stay asleep at night. So now I have to start looking at your serotonin levels. Why? Because you've depleted your body of the serotonin, and the same thing, it's downregulated. So you don't even have enough to keep you asleep throughout the night. So that's when we start looking at that. And again, it's interrelated with your sleep. And dopamine and adenosine, the relief of adenosine sleep pressure, is what we do. And so naturally, when we put people to sleep, they do wake up with this euphoric feeling, ready to go do things. I want to go shopping. I want to go run. I want to go do this. And that's expected. Because, and that's to me another sign that we have relieved that adenosine sleep pressure, because adenosine and dopamine go together too. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's all a network, right? And it's not a one or done. It all affects your mental health. But we have to figure out the neurotransmitters that balance that out. What makes us happy? What's our happy drug? You can't have too much serotonin. It has side effects, but you never had too much happy. And that's serotonin, right? But when you don't have it, that's when people get depressed. And that's what we have to start looking at.
What is, sleep specialist Nyree's take on the melatonins? Those are people, when I go in the stores, I see them. Is it good to just take it just like that without the overall full treatment, or it's not good?
I mean,
I've heard both parties as a patient facing side, and also I'm very skeptical when I see kids melatonin because
yes.
so what's your take?
They serve a purpose, right? I will say that each one serves a purpose. I do not recommend them for long-term use, no. But, even like you said with kids and melatonin, there's a lot of school shootings around here. We ran out of melatonin. I'm in Parkland, Florida. It serves its purpose. So if that's on a short-term basis, until we can get the therapy we need, regulate things, let's look at the neurology behind what was the current state before and after. What is the lifestyle situation? There's so many other factors. And of course, it's hopefully a temporary situation that we can seek, but not, you can't put people on long-term prescriptions for root issues, real problems. So all you're doing is just covering up the symptoms. At some point, you can take melatonin to go to sleep until you can get up and go to therapy tomorrow. So, but, to take, oh man, I've been on melatonin, because what's going to happen? You're going to build up a tolerance. I went from 5 to 10 to 20, and you're going to take the whole bottle just to go to sleep for one night. No, that's, as long as the root problem is being taken into account as well, those temporary aids are fine. Temporary is the key word.
So it's really a temporary relief, not a solution. That's what you say.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, for those who feel, stuck in this loop of poor sleep and poor mental health, what's like the first step you recommend to them for breaking free of this cycle, this vicious circle?
It's not, I feel this is, okay, first and foremost, they need to come to Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness. So we can really find out what's going on, because it's not just a one thing. I cannot, and I will not just give you a prescription. I will not just bring you in for a Prosomnia sleep session. When you come in for the Prosomnia sleep session, it's to get you rest so we can navigate through this problem and get you on a natural sleep schedule, right? That's to get your REM sleep that you haven't gotten in months, potentially years, right? So we get you the rest, but then we also stay with you to go through that therapy with you. Why aren't you sleeping? Why can't you stay asleep throughout the night? Is it because you have low serotonin levels? We've got to get to the root problem, and that's what we do. So when you're dealing with mental health issues, okay, fine, I can write your prescription again, but we also have to get the psychiatrist on board, because now we have to look at how your antidepressant medication is affecting your sleep. And so we have to do some medication management. People don't understand how much your gastrointestinal issues play into your sleep. So now we got to get your GI doctor on board, and now we become your sleep team, right? Your dream team of professionals to help you get rest, because it's almost like your GI doctor doesn't know that your antidepressants are causing you not to sleep. So we're all countering each other, and you're not getting better. Sleep affects every aspect of your life, even the way you eat, sleep, dream, play, work, everything. So if we can figure out why you're not sleeping, we should relatively be able to solve quite a few problems you're having. And so, ideally, that's how, the issue is. Let's look at your sleep. Let's figure out what your mental health issues are, or let's come let's figure out what your mental health issues are that are affecting your sleep. Because they're both, I promise you, if there's some mental health issues going on, you're not sleeping.
And I know there is like a sleep testing device, and then there's sleep test that happens. But it seems like because the problem could be like, how we're discussing the mental health, and there is a whole bunch of thing happens. Is there some sort of a quiz, or I don't know, scoring? People can take it at home, and then they know, and then they can reach out to you. Is there something that we can give to our listeners? Is there something? Is there something we can hand over and attach to people with wherever they are listening to the show, so they can kind of like do a self evaluation a little bit, and then figure it out, and maybe even then you know like reach out to you and schedule time with you for deeper understanding of the results? Is there something like that?
Absolutely. Go to www.prosomniasleep.com.
All right.
PROSOMNIA.sleep.com.
Okay.
And actually, we have our Prosomnia Sleep quiz there. And each question kind of targets us into a different potential sleep disparity that you may have. So they're not just general basic questions. This is a very specific sleep quiz that's designed by our team to identify certain sleep disparities, including REM sleep disorders. So yes, on the website is our Prosomnia Sleep quiz.
This we will obviously put the link directly if you are listening, and if you want to see really like what your sleep troubles are, you should take this quiz, and then hopefully also reach out to Nyree from the website itself to schedule your deeper assessment on that.
Absolutely. And we do have I know this is a brief podcast, but on Amazon, I do have my book, Why We Don't Sleep. And it gets into actually the physiological and biological aspects as to why we don't sleep. It's on Amazon. Like I said, it's the biological secrets behind insomnia. I do delve into more with the neurotransmitters, different, the REM sleep disorders, chronic insomnia, menopause, manopause, how all those come into play. We have silver sleepers. So a lot of people, as they get older, they lose the ability to sleep, how sleep plays into mental health. It's I think chapter 5. So, I delve into deeper, and explain why and what's going on in your head as to why you can't sleep.
And we will put the link to the book as well to Amazon directly, and you are able to get it directly from that link. Now, before we conclude today's show, 2 last questions. The first one: what excites you most about the future of sleep research, its role in, especially in mental health treatment? Talk to us about that.
Us, Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness, we are revolutionizing the sleep and health and wellness industry. We are the first and only clinical REM sleep therapy, and I'm so happy and so proud to say that we can now treat the real root causes and root problems of REM sleep. However, we will then also guide people and help them with chronic insomnia and the other sleep issues by dealing with the different neurotransmitters and how those imbalances affect. And I think what's also excited me so much, like we were speaking before, knowing that I can see the mental health problems or sleep disparities from a data perspective, we can also pair that information, pair that data with the AI information, the sleep watches and all this other, because that's actually what's happening now. All this AI driven data, and all this insights, and that's fine. But what are people supposed to do with it now? Right. So it's like, okay, I literally just had a guy call me the other day. He's like, all right, my watch says I'm not getting REM sleep. Right. I'm like, okay, how do you feel? And he's like, well, I'm sleepy. I said, but are you regular sleepy or are you like really, really sleepy? He's like, and so we went down that road. And so it's great, to bring this type of attention. However, we just have to let people know now what to do, because it's also in some patients causing a little bit of anxiety. Whereas you're already not sleeping and then your watch is telling you you're not sleeping, but nobody's telling you how to sleep, so that, that can kind of be, a little difficult too. So that's what we do here. Again, we only choose sleep at Prosomnia Sleep Health and Wellness. Whether people, it's not just REM sleep. We do deal, and non-REM sleep is absolutely important. I'm not negating the importance of non-REM sleep, but because we are a comprehensive sleep center, we deal with every aspect of sleep, and that's all we do.
Wonderful. Um, I know that you are going to be speaking somewhere on your
Oh
favorite
yes,
topic with sleep. Can
yes.
you talk to us about what that event is about? What are you going to talk about? And if people want to find you, listeners want to find you about
Absolutely.
that thing, what is that? Talk to us about that.
So it's through the Philadelphia Sleep Conference is March 28th. Yes, March 28th at Live Casino in Philadelphia. And I'm talking on a specific topic on the dynamic duo of anesthesia and EEG. So essentially, I will be speaking to everyone about what I'm seeing when in Prosomnia sleep sessions. Right, when people are asleep, we use an EEG monitor, and what I'm seeing on our monitors. And when I say, oh, this is what PTSD looks like, or this is what depression looks like, or this is what chronic insomnia looks like, and I'm explaining how we use that monitor and how I'm using that device to, then then we kind of develop a personalized sleep plan, which may involve neurologists, behavioral therapists, your GI doctor, and build your sleep team of professionals. And then I'll be speaking on how I use that data to identify REM sleep disorders and potentially other neurological disorders. Yeah.
Wonderful. And can people is this just in person or is it also
It's in person and they have a virtual link as well. It's phillysleepconference.com, and it'll bring you to the website. You can sign up. The lecture does give CME credits, medical education credits, for people in the industry who need, medical education credits. So yeah, I'm excited, and anyone's welcome to come. I'll be there as well. Prior to that, I'm going to be doing a book signing. Again, as to why we don't sleep. That a couple of hours before. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. That Thursday before, because the conference is on Friday. The Thursday before, I will be doing like a mini book signing for the book and speaking to anyone who wants to know more about sleep, personality sleep, and everything we do over there.
yeah, and that is going to be at the same
That's
location?
at the live casino as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, our listeners, especially in people in and around Philadelphia, how to find where it is. We will put the detail link to the conference as well with the show notes and wherever you get it. And this brings us to the end of today's episode. Nyree, once again, thanks for sharing all the
Thank
insights.
you, my friend.
We will be back with our next episode pretty soon. We already have it on our calendar.
Yeah.
So, so get ready, folks. And if you are in Philadelphia, you know how to get to Nyree, and we will put the link to the location and the conference. Her book, we'll put the link "Why We Don't Sleep" on Amazon. We will put the link that too, and also if you are in Florida, in and around Florida,
Of
and
course.
even country too, try and meet her at Prosomnia Sleep Clinic, which also will put the link. So many ways to find this lady right now, and you got the opportunity to fix your sleep. Do it. uh,
Absolutely.
all right. Thank you, Ari, once again. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.